Hi, Teresa. This is Ellen. I'm sorry about the mistake with your essays. Let's get right into it, okay? Let's see. This is the one about schools and whether they need to be more entertaining or whether they should just educate. Let's see what you wrote. It has been widely debated if the main purpose of schools is to educate or to entertain students. I firmly agree that schools must have a higher purpose than just, here it should be an ing, than just educating students. This essay will discuss both points of view using examples from studies and empirical research to demonstrate points and support arguments. Okay, I like this. I thought you did a very nice job. I liked that your position was really clear. I have one concern here, though. So I want to address that. Now, this is an essay where they're asking which side you agree with, okay? And you've told us which side you agree with. You've said that you think they must serve a higher purpose. So then my question to you is this. If that's the case and you firmly agree, then why are you going to discuss both points of view? When you decide to do this, how can I put this? You need to do it in a particular way in order to not be off topic. All right. So, before we get into any more details about that, why don't we actually see what you did, how you did this, and we can see if you managed it successfully or not. Okay. So, firstly, humans are social in nature, hence, it is important to know how to interact with others and to be successful. In this regard, younger students need to develop social skills at an early age, and these skills can be provided by the schools. Therefore, when an education center transforms their syllabus to include time to socialize and entertain, they're closer to achieving ing. After a preposition, the verb must be an ing. So they are closer to achieving this objective. Recent studies from, really, not of, recent studies from Harvard University indicate, okay, because it's the studies indicate that 40% of schools that develop sports competitions have a trend to have more academically successful students. Okay, this is all right. Okay, this is fine, but I am a little concerned that maybe it's not super focused. So there's not really a lot going on in terms of entertainment. Why? Why do I say that? Because your first sentence here talks about humans needing to be social, or that they are social. And then you continue to talk about social skills. So then it's only here in the middle of the paragraph where you mention very briefly that schools need to include time to socialize and entertain. So I really feel like the crux, the central idea of this paragraph is more about socializing and very little about entertainment. Okay? And then here you mention this thing about sports competitions. And so now I'm curious, well, what does this connect to? Socializing or entertainment? So it's not really solidly focused on what you're supposed to be talking about, okay? You needed to talk more about what entertainment can do, how it can help, why we need to have it, etc., etc. So I would like to see you do some work with this, okay, to make sure that it's focused on this idea of entertainment. All right, so let's move on. Oh, and another thing I want to say is, socializing isn't necessarily an entertainment, so you can't really use these as being something interchangeable. Okay, when we think of entertainment, other words you could use are enjoyment, fun, recreation, let me think, what else? Amusement. Okay, these are things that you can, these are words that you can kind of think about when you think about entertainment. Okay, all right, let's move on to your next paragraph. Secondly, there is a strong belief. Here you wanted the noun, so it's lief. Okay? There is a strong belief that humans need discipline and strong foundations in school subjects to be successful, and this can only be acquired in schools. Nevertheless, the people that have this point of view do not All right, you don't want to use contractions in IELTS essays, but even still, this should have been people. Do not. Okay, not doesn't. So people that have this point of view do not take into consideration the students. Here you need an apostrophe after the S, mental health. For example, there is a school in the largest city of Japan that you don't mean instrumented. You mean oh, what word do you want? Implemented, I think you mean. That implemented an extremely strict syllabus with no time to relax. And as a result, at the end of the course, at least 30% of the students dropped out of the semester. So get rid of that have, okay? All right, so now this is what I wanted to see. When you said that you were going to talk about solely educating or schools that solely educate, this is what I was hoping to see, that you would talk about why this is not a good idea. Okay. Um, so that's fine. That's fine. We'll talk about it a little more in detail. Let's see. Nevertheless, people that have this one don't. Okay. 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 So again, here, I think you could have mentioned something about entertainment. I think you could have mentioned that there was no time to relax, so students dropped out. Then you could say something like, however, this is not the case with schools where entertainment is included. In fact, they have higher retention rates than other schools, et cetera, et cetera. So something like that, so that you are still bringing in this idea of entertainment. All right, let's move on. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I strongly believe that schools need to provide students with time to entertain and interact with their fellows. All right, that's a little strange. Let's look at it. They need to provide students with time for entertainment and interaction with their fellow students. The fellows just sounds a little weird. It will be beneficial for their academic and social future. In addition, it is predicted by the World Bank that in the near future, Western schools will transform their syllabus to include yoga subjects. All right, this is something you don't want to include. It's too specific. It's not something you mentioned anywhere else in your essay, and so you don't want to introduce a new idea in your conclusion. Your conclusion is simply just to wrap up and then, maybe have like a thought-provoking prediction, but this was a little too specific. So instead of this, I would have wanted to see it is predicted by the World Bank that in the near future, Western schools will adopt more entertaining activities. Done. That's it. Okay. So a good attempt for your first one. I see that you're using the template rather well. All right, you were at 290 words, and that's fine. So pretty much just the things that I talked about earlier. Okay, yes, no other real comments about that. So why don't we move on to your second essay? Doing an enjoyable activity with a child. Let's see what you wrote. One sector of the population believes that doing enjoyable activities with children is a positive aspect for them to develop different sets. I think you want an S here. Different sets of skills, whereas others believe that going through the reading process is the only way to develop those skills. In my view, I consider that joy provides more benefits for the children than just reading. This essay will discuss these issues using examples from recent studies and empirical experience, to demonstrate points and support arguments. All right, lovely. That's nice. Firstly, it is common knowledge that leisure time significantly enhances, you need an S here, creativity. In this regard, when a child is having a wonderful time and enjoying themselves, they increase their mental health and their creativity. You don't really increase mental health, you improve mental health, okay? Which in the long run will be beneficial in their abilities to solve problems and analysis capacity. Okay, which in the long term will be beneficial in their abilities. How about this? Which in the long term will be beneficial for their problem solving abilities and analysis capacity. Okay, you see, it works a lot better like this, and their abilities to solve problems and analysis capacity. Yeah, it's not a huge difference, but I think it would have sounded better in their problem solving abilities and analysis capacity. Okay. For instance, there was a school in the south of Viña del Mar in Chile that implemented a 1 hour leisure time just to give the opportunity to students to play with their fellow classmates, okay, not their fellows. As a result, the academic performance improved by 20%. So no got, no A. Okay. All right, fine. Fine, 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 fine. Secondly, it is true that through reading activities you can acquire a considerable amount of knowledge, which in the long term is beneficial for academic success. Nevertheless, it has also been proved that students that do not have spare time to enjoy tend, no S, to have more anxiety diseases and are prone to reduce their social skills. A situation that can impact their future performance in society. For instance, a recent study by Harvard University indicates that students who attended schools that were not, again, no contractions, were not implementing social activities in the curricula at the time of the graduation. Let me read that again. Hold on. Indicates that students who attended schools that did not implement social activities at the time of graduation. All right, grammatically, this doesn't work. Let's fix it a little bit, okay? I'm going to read it one more time. For instance, a recent study by Harvard University indicates that at least 20% of students who attended schools that did not implement social activities at the time of their graduation were suffering from depression. Okay? All right. So, to conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that doing enjoyable activities has, because it's one thing. Doing enjoyable activities is actually just one thing. It's singular. It's not plural. Has a positive effect in the process of acquiring different skills. In addition, it is predicted by the UN, specifically by their education branch, that there is a trend to include social activities in the curricula all the North American elementary schools. Okay. Again, remember, don't be too specific. This is really just a prediction that, you know, in the future, it is predicted that focus on reading will be less and enjoyable activities will be more, or something like that. Just a little broader. At this point, you don't want to be specific. You want to be broader and more general. Okay, so fine. Obviously, there were some things that we needed to correct in terms of grammar, in terms of language. On the whole, it was good. I do want to talk a little bit about task achievement. I just want to make sure that you covered all the elements that you need to cover in this in order to do well in task achievement. So I'm just going to kind of think aloud for a minute. If you can just work with me for a minute, I'm going to just kind of think aloud. Now, better skills. What better skills did you talk about? All right, here you talked about creativity. Again, you talked about creativity. You talked about mental health. You talked about problem solving and analysis capability. Okay, so what you were saying is that increased creativity helps problem solving. I see. Okay. And then here you were saying what happens when students read and why it's not a great idea because they have anxiety diseases. Actually, they're not called diseases. They're usually called anxiety disorders, okay? So disorder was the word you wanted here. Disorders, plural. Okay. Let me think about this for a minute. I think I'm more troubled with this paragraph. I want to think about it for a minute. All right. I just wanted to read this through again to see if you talked about skills, to see if you talked about how reading can help that, and you did. So I'm okay with it. It's fine. All right. Like I said, I did have a concern. I wanted to make sure that you were talking about better skills and creativity in both. You did talk about academic knowledge and academic success and so forth. So I guess you can say that that's a skill. All right, so it's fine. So it's a good first set. Okay, just be aware of some of the other issues that were mentioned in this video correction. The next step for you now is to correct these essays based on the suggestions in this video. Return them to us. Return those to us with an error correction list that you're going to start, where you write down the mistakes and then next to each mistake what the correct version is. That's for you to learn from to keep track of the mistakes so that you can begin, to be aware of the kind of mistakes that you're making consistently, and so that you can kind of, overcome them. And then, of course, the third thing we need from you is a new set of essays. So get that started, please. It's a good idea to do this within the next couple of days so that you can really, keep up your momentum and keep up the progress you're making. So I'll be waiting for those essays. Good job and good luck.